I locked the doors and checked every window, believing my home was secure, until I caught a glimpse of a shadow standing motionless in the hallway. That evening began like any other. I was home alone, winding down after a long day with the familiar comfort of routine. I turned off the living room lights, switched off the television, and settled into a quiet solitude that I'd grown accustomed to. Yet, as the night deepened, I couldn't shake a lingering feeling, an almost imperceptible heaviness in the air. Every familiar creak and groan of the old house seemed amplified, each sound echoing with a forewarning I couldn't quite place. The silence, usually soothing, now felt laden with an unspoken promise that something was amiss. It wasn't long before the oddities began. A sudden flicker of the hallway light caught my eye, its brief pulse unsettling in the stillness. Then, there was a creak in the wooden floor, one that defied the usual settling sounds of an old home. I tried to dismiss it as a quirk of aging timber, but then came the moment that shook me to my core. While casually glancing at the television screen, I noticed something strange. In the reflection, behind my own silhouette, there was a dark figure that shouldn't have been there. I froze, heart pounding as the image vanished almost as quickly as it had appeared, leaving behind a trail of uncertainty. Determined to confront my fear, I turned around slowly, scanning the corridor for any sign of an intruder. The hallway lay empty, yet the oppressive sensation of being watched clung to me. Each time I closed my eyes, I could almost see that shape lurking just beyond my vision, an elusive presence that made the darkness feel even more consuming. And then, in a moment of chilling clarity, I heard it. A whisper, soft yet unmistakable, brushing past my ear as if someone had leaned in too close. It was my name, uttered in a tone that sent shivers down my spine. Panic surged through me, overriding every rational thought. I grabbed my phone and keys in a frantic rush, bolting for the front door, as if escape itself depended on it. With my heart hammering in my chest, I dared one final trembling glance back through a rain-spattered window. There, in the half-light, I saw it again. A figure standing at the window, its presence impossible to ignore. In that split second, I knew I couldn't stay. I stepped out into the night, the chill of the unknown following me with every step. In the aftermath, the authorities found no evidence of forced entry or any trace of another soul within the house. Yet, as I reviewed my phone's gallery in the quiet hours of the morning, I discovered something that defied explanation. A blurry image of me, fast asleep, captured without my knowledge. To this day, I remain haunted by that inexplicable night, where the unanswered questions loom larger than any tangible evidence. The memory lingers, a constant reminder that sometimes the unknown is far more unsettling than the answers we seek. Past midnight, I heard a knock at the door, slow, deliberate. I checked the peephole, and nothing was there. Then, I heard a voice. My own voice, whispering from the other side. I was up late, trying to unwind in the gentle glow of the television, the room filled with the soft murmur of a late-night program. The world outside was at rest, each house in the neighborhood silent under the blanket of night. I felt secure in my solitude, trusting that the darkness outside held nothing more than the usual quiet of a sleeping town. But deep down, I knew there was an eerie stillness to this particular night that I couldn't shake. Then, a sharp, insistent knock at the front door shattered the calm. I rose slowly, moving towards the door with a mixture of trepidation and curiosity. I peered through the peephole and saw nothing but an empty ink-black porch. Moments later, another knock sounded, a softer, yet more deliberate tap that sent a chill up my spine. I felt a prickling sensation on the back of my neck, as if an unseen presence had reached out to me in that brief, disquieting moment. Returning to the safety of my living room, I tried to dismiss the incident as nothing more than an overactive imagination. However, not long after, my phone buzzed unexpectedly. I answered a voicemail from an unknown number, and my blood turned to ice as a distorted version of my own voice emerged from the speaker, softly saying, "Let me in." The familiarity of my own voice, twisted into something unrecognizable, left me reeling and desperate for an explanation. Fear quickly overtook me, and I retreated to my room, bolting the door behind me as a precaution. The knocks on the main door soon escalated into frantic rapping, only to fall silent as abruptly as they had started. Hours passed in an agonizing quiet until I finally summoned the courage to face the unknown. I slowly approached the door and opened it, only to find the darkness outside remained undisturbed, leaving me with more questions than answers. In the end, there was no trace of an intruder, no footprints, no broken locks, only the haunting echo of a voice that should have been my own. Later that night, as if the encounter had left an indelible mark, I received one final voicemail. Next time, leave the door unlocked. Even now, I struggle to comprehend whether it was a trick of my mind or a real, inexplicable presence that sought entry into my life. The mystery lingers, a reminder that some nights the line between the familiar and the unknown is terrifyingly blurred. After a taxing day, I finally looked forward to the comfort of sleep. I slipped under the covers, convinced that the only sounds would be the natural creaks of my old house settling for the night. The room was dim, lit only by the soft glow of a bedside lamp, and the usual sounds of the night lulled me toward rest. Yet, as minutes slipped by, the oppressive silence began to feel invasive, as if something uninvited was encroaching on my private sanctuary. Just as I started to surrender to sleep, I heard it. A faint, rhythmic breathing coming from beneath the bed. I froze, listening intently. At first, I convinced myself it was a trick of the mind, or perhaps the sound of my own breathing echoing back at me. But as the sound persisted, I realized it wasn't something I could ignore. I held my breath, straining to discern its source, and each exhalation only made the sound more pronounced. Gathering what little courage I had left, I leaned over the edge of the bed, peering into the void below. The darkness offered no answers, only an abyss that seemed to swallow every flicker of light. At that precise moment, my phone lit up on the nightstand with a message from my own number. Don't look under the bed. I was paralyzed with dread, unable to tear my eyes away from the darkness as the implications of that message sank in. In a burst of pure terror, I sprang from the bed and retreated to the relative safety of my doorway. I could still hear a faint rustling, as if something below was shifting in response to my movement. Without a second thought, I grabbed my keys and bolted out of the room, not daring to look back for fear of confirming my worst suspicions. The night outside was equally unwelcoming, dark and oppressive, as if it too were complicit in the terror I had just experienced. I never returned to that room. Weeks later, while packing to leave the house, I noticed deep, unsettling scratch marks on the wooden floor beneath the bed, marks that traced a pattern I couldn't explain. Even now, I wonder, were those marks left by an unseen force, or were they a manifestation of my own terror? The questions remain, and with them, the fear that something might still be lurking in the darkness, waiting for its moment to reappear.